Hello and welcome to another Point 5 episode of TMI, where we go back into our history, take a classic secondary feature that we've talked about, and present it as its own episode. And in this case, we are taking episode 32, editing out our discussion of The Walking Dead, and presenting in its singular glory, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Now, apologies to all the horror fanatics out there. This discussion dates from 2018, and even then we were late to the bandwagon of this movie. But I assure you that I have seen it many times since then, and I am no longer a Tucker and Dale newbie. Get ready, buckle down, rev up the chainsaw. Here comes Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
TMI. Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler and Jim Kaiju Baker.
Now, Jeff, this is Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yes, correct.
So, Jeff, how did you happen upon this movie?
It's on Netflix, and I just one aimless night flipping through, read the description, and it was just kind of like, all right, I'll give this a shot. And I think within the first 10 minutes, I was completely sold on it. So.
And I would agree. This is
nice.
Yep, it was a delight.
Nice. Yeah.
Alan Tudyk, Firefly, and he's done a number of things.
Yeah, the voice in Rogue One, you said the robot.
Yes, he was the voice of the robot in Rogue One as well. So
Firefly.
he is a big genre face and personality, is Alan Tudyk. And he is in this movie as, is he Tail?
He was Tucker.
And so the setup of this movie is really simple. What if the roles were reversed in a typical hillbilly horror movie? What if the hillbillies were the good guys and the college kids were the murderers? So...
and you're off and running. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, jumping from that simple setup, it's just so funny. It's just the way they subvert all these classic Hills Have Eyes type scenarios and put it all on the college kids. And all Tucker and Dale are looking to do is renovate their summer home in the woods.
And they were like, this is awesome. And it just, it's a piece of crap.
So we should actually maybe pause here for a second because there'll be a ton of spoilers on this. But it is such a delightful movie that you should probably tune this off and then go watch the movie and come back to it.
It is on Netflix still.
Because I so totally enjoyed this movie. I was not expecting it.
I am so happy because I remember being so thrilled with this when I saw it the first time. And then when I watched it again the other night, the whole time I'm like, oh, I hope these guys like this movie. Because once you kind of know what's coming, it's not as delightful. It's a little more, what's about to happen.
It's true.
Yeah.
The title is a little misleading because I thought there was going to be some kind of supernatural element to this, although that's not the case. And it's stronger, I think, for it, that it just really sticks with its formula and goes and follows it throughout the film. Maybe film is too classy of a word to describe it.
Well, it's funny because this thing sat on the shelf for like 3 years. This was a Canadian production, and they just didn't get any kind of U.S. distribution. It really kind of picked up some ground when it was showcased at one of the Canadian film festivals, I think the Toronto. The reviews, people just loved it.
So how long ago did you see it initially?
Oh, easily probably a year, if not 2 years ago.
So it's been on Netflix for some time.
It has been. I was very surprised that it was still on there. Eli Craig directed this, who also directed Zombieland.
Oh, I did not know that. And
currently in production on Zombieland 2. But this was produced in 2010, and I think it was like 2011 when it showcased at the film festival. It's not a spoof. Would you call it a parody? It's not even really a parody. It's just kind of its own. And you know what I can equate it to? It's like Shaun of the Dead, kind of.
I think it's its own thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to relate it.
It does set up the initial scenes where the kids stop for gas and they come across Tucker and Dale.
Yeah, it's like don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, and then one of the kids goes in, and there's this hilarious guy behind the counter.
Yeah, he's missing like 3 teeth. Oh, where's your beer?
So this is the setup for any other horror movies.
And there's like 6 guys and 2 girls, which is just like that's a little disproportionate.
So Dale, who's the
3 girls. There's 3. Sorry.
We have Dale, who's the sweeter of the 2 hillbillies, and Tucker, I don't know, are they brothers? Is that ever?
No, I think they were just kind of like best friends. They brought up a couple times, in high school. Dale is played by Tylerlabine, who really, I think Rise of the Planet of the Apes is the only credit that I saw him have. that anybody would probably even recognize.
But he's probably the highlight of this movie is Dale.
Yeah,
He's got all the funny lines.
Because again, right, like you say, you're playing with, role playing, but subverted, where they're just two buddies getting beer and they're going out they have a vacation home. Tell those girls, oh, I can't talk to that girl. I got an ugly face. No, go over there and tell her you have a vacation home. Girls love that,
And then he walks over there with a scythe.
Right. And he goes, just smile a lot and laugh. Hey, ladies, where are you going? And they're just looking like, we need to get out of here.
The big turning point event is that the vacation home is, of course, adjacent to where these college kids are camping out in the woods. As Tucker and Dale are out fishing at night, they happen to see through the trees. The college kids are going skinny dipping, or various forms of...
I was going to say, they were...
Not quite skinny dipping.
Yeah.
And so the girl that Dale is sweet on, they see her fall off a rock and hit her head, so they...
Yeah. Well, they scare her,
yeah.
Right.
So she falls off the rock and she hits her head, so they save her from drowning. But the friends who are off in the distance see, or one of them sees them
hauling her into the boat.
So from that point on, the college kids kind of mount an assault on Tucker and Dale, who are just trying to nurse this girl back to health to get her back to her friends. And they all end up killing themselves, trying to kill Tucker and Dale.
It is very gory and very bloody, but in a fun way, I guess.
There's one scene where Tucker is feeding the wood chipper as from...
You're not going to believe it.
This college
kid just threw... It's like a mass suicide out there.
And then the cop comes and they're trying to get the legs out of they're dragging the legs
they're
behind.
Literally pulling the severed torso. The cop walks up and he's like, do we look like psycho killers to you?
And then the cop goes into their...
Oh, the kids are all in the car. Like, don't go in the house. Don't go in the house.
So he goes in the house. He leans on one of the supports, which is already loose. And then the board comes down and there's a nail coming off the board, which hits the cop right in the head. And it's one of the best lines in the movie. Tucker's like, oh, he's going to walk it off. He's going to
walk it off. And he is. He's just kind of like walking back to the car with this platform of nails sticking out of his forehead. And then he drops dead. The kids jump out. They grab the cop gun, and he's pointing at them point blank. And he goes to shoot him. He's like, Dale's like, no, you got to put the safety off. And so the kid's like, and of course, he shoots himself in the head. So they're like dropping like flies. And these two hillbillies are like, what the hell is going on here? And meanwhile, you got the lead preppy guy who's convinced that these guys are like, oh, he tells a story early on about 20 years ago.
Yeah, the Memorial Day Massacre.
Memorial Day Massacre. Yeah. Yes.
Where similar college kids were massacred by hillbillies. And it turns out that it was a true story, that it was he's talking about his own parents and their friends.
And you find out that at the end that he is, in fact, the hillbilly psycho. So, again, completely flips everything. He's just obsessed with killing these two guys.
And he's still alive at the end, because the beginning of the movie is kind of like a flash forward to the end.
Well, that's right. So that's what I wanted to say, which is it opens with like this found footage type of a thing. And you see a glimpse of him. That's not in the movie at all. So it's like, so now he like lives out there.
So there could be a sequel. Could
be. Yeah. Although without those two main characters. I mean, I will say Tudyk, he gets most of the pratfalls and he saws into a bee's nest. So now all of a sudden, the kid's creeping up on the cabin and he's being swarmed by bees while he's got the chainsaw. So he's running around the corner, swinging the chainsaw for all it's worth, screaming. And of course, this kid's like, he's going to try and kill me. And he tries to outrun him and immediately impales himself on a tree, which was pretty funny. And no one finds him until the end of the movie.
And right before the kid impales himself, he realizes that Tucker is outrunning him and he's not actually trying to kill him. Yeah,
they're like running side by side, looking at each other.
So yeah, this was a very, very pleasant surprise, and I enjoyed it probably more so than any comedy that I've watched in quite some time. So I would totally recommend this. Are we ready to give it buckets? Are we at that point in the conversation yet?
I think so.
Yeah.
I would give it 4. Solid 4 buckets for me.
Yeah.
Solid 4. Absolutely.
All right, I'm right behind you. Let's go 4 across the board.
All right.
This is just a very fun, pleasant surprise.
Yeah, and like Mike said, we don't really want to over-explain it and give you too many of the jokes, because just go out and discover it for yourself.
And the other thing, too, I was on IMDb, and I guess if you watch the trailer for this, it really gives a lot of it away. And you get the sense of what's really going on. But just go into it. It really is enjoyable. And I'm tickled that you guys liked it.
This is one of those ones that I'm surprised didn't get like really good word of mouth and, pick up steam back whenever. When was this movie originally made?
2010.
2010.
But like I said, for whatever reason, it sat on the shelf for a while. It actually won a couple awards in the Canadian market. It never really found its mark here in the U.S. So they must have just dumped it on Netflix, and I don't ever remember it being in the theater.
Yeah, this is easily as good, I think, as Shaun of the Dead. It's right up there with that for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is our highest average score, where we all scored
It
at
could
4.
be. Yeah. Your Steelbox versions are in the mail.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sometimes you just got to go for it. Sometimes you just, a movie and you're like, all right, this is something I need to share.
At this point, we are finally going to get to our Night Stalker episode.
Night Stalker.
How long have we put this off?
Yeah,
4 weeks?
it's now a month later.
Yeah, I'm still putting it off.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so Mike only has his childhood memories to go by in his discussion of this episode. So what this is the final segment of our childhood trauma series, where I picked Beware the Blob, Jeff picked An American Werewolf in London, and Mike has picked an obscure episode of The Night Stalker, already in a semi-obscure show itself, but an obscure episode of The Night Stalker called The Trevi Collection. About
you had to do a fair amount of research to figure this one out, didn't you?
Witches in the fashion industry. All I had to go by was witches, witch face, or something like that. So,
yeah, and I wonder if I'm just keep putting it off, subconsciously, because every time I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch that again. I'm going to watch that again. And I knew this was coming up, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch it tomorrow night and yesterday night, and I never did.
There's probably a lot to be said about that you don't want to relive that childhood trauma. I mean, Jim had issues when we were watching Beware the Blob. Yeah.
I did.
It could very well be your subconscious going, you know what? Leave it alone, Mike. Just leave it alone.
So, Jim, lead us into the plot, and we'll see how much of this I actually recall.
Okay. Well, first, let's just give an overview of The Night Stalker itself, the show. This is really the precursor to The X-Files.
Yeah.
And Bruce Carter, the creator of The X-Files, will totally own up to this, and he has.
Well, they've actually had Darren McGavin on the show, too, correct?
Yeah, so, Darren McGavin, he's the dad from A Christmas Story.
Christmas Story, always will ever be. Yep.
And he stars as Carl Kolchak, who is a reporter who happens to specialize in paranormal phenomenon, and it kind of just falls into his lap every week. I don't think he sets out to investigate anything that's, supernatural, but it just happens to be that it happens all the time around.
That's the way most 70s TV shows are.
It started with the Night Stalker TV movie, which was a standalone and had the character of Kolchak in it, who was investigating a series of murders in Las Vegas, and it turns out it's a vampire. So
I heard that's the plot of the Rick Grimes AMC movie, by the way.
Yeah. That would be great if it was. So that movie did so well in the ratings for ABC that they brought him back for another TV movie called The Night Strangler, which also did well. So at that point, they said, let's just give this guy a show. Hence the Night Stalker TV show, which lasted just one season, not quite as successful as those two movies, because I think it was like 10, 12 episodes and then done.
Were the movies as funny? Were they as
absolutely. And they actually, both the movies had that same boss that he goes back and forth with.
Okay. Because that is the one thing I was very surprised with, was the amount of humor that was in this. And I'm like, this is actually like Jim and we talked about, let's just review this entire show.
Yeah. Well, actually the original Night Stalker movie wasn't so much. There was,
I was going to say, you put Stalker in there and you're kind of like,
Yeah, there was laughs in it, but it was kind of straight up
Strangler.
Suspense horror. But the Night Strangler, that's where the humor started coming in.
Oh, really? I thought it would be the opposite way.
No. So then with the show, they just went all out. So it is a very funny show, and this episode was no exception. So it starts out, here's the setup of the show, right? So Carl Kolchak is going to the 1975 fashion runway show of this one particular designer, Trevi, her name is, Madame Trevi. And he's not there to cover the fashion show, but he's there to meet one of his snitches who's got some information about organized labor or something to that effect, right? So he's sitting there watching the fashion show, and his guy that he's supposed to meet is backstage because he's just that kind of a creep. And he's taking pictures of all the designs of Madame Trevi.
All the latest designs.
Because after he sells Kolchak this information, he's going to sell that information to somebody else, right? So this guy's taking pictures of all the designs, and all of a sudden...
Ralph Lauren's waiting with a check.
Yeah, all of a sudden the mannequins in the back room come alive and all attack this guy. But it's really, all the mannequins are pushed really towards this guy.
Right. There's a stagehand at the bottom underneath the camera just moving them forward every couple minutes.
And a few of the shots, like there's the mannequin face here, then there's a mannequin face there. Then all of a sudden you see a real woman's face, like that's portraying a mannequin. And you totally know that that's a woman and that's a mannequin. But
And then next thing you know, the guy's being thrown out the window.
Thrown out the window, and it's like 3 stories up. He lands on a car, not a dent on the car that he's lying on.
They made those cars pretty sturdy back then.
Yeah, they did. So, of course, Kolchak gets wind that his informant has been thrown out the window. So that becomes his investigation throughout the episode to find out what happened to this guy. So he questions one of the models, Mike, who is your witch, it turns out, at the end of the episode.
Melody was her name?
I forget what her name was. Vincenzo, his editor, his boss, Kolchak's boss. And they always have a lot of witty banter back and forth whenever Kolchak is in the office. As they're looking at the informant's pictures, because Kolchak got his camera, the boss says...
He wasn't much of a photographer. Yeah, he wasn't much of a skydiver either.
But it's all like deadpan.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very deadpan.
And it had Doc from The Love Boat playing a doctor.
Bernie Kopel. And that was pre-Love Boat, was it not? Maybe? I'm like, and he played a doctor. I'm like, I wonder if that's the same character, but it wasn't.
Kolchak starts interviewing this model. And as the episode goes on, he starts to see some weird stuff. There's a cat that attacks one of the models at one point.
Oh, Ariel. Yeah, Clauser.
And it really is just this woman holding a cat above her and the cat's just like looking confused rather than aggressive. So,
but they add a couple hissing sound effects.
Yes,
and you're good to go.
So it seems that something wrong is afoot, and then Madame Trevi herself takes ill. The model has been telling Kolchak that Trevi is a witch. But it turns out, in fact, that the model herself is the witch, and she has a voodoo doll of Madame Trevi, and that's why Madame Trevi is in the hospital. Madame Trevi tells Kolchak at one point that he has to find the voodoo doll or she's going to die in the hospital. Right. And then Kolchak finally goes backstage to where the guy was thrown out of the window to Madame Trevi's office looking for this voodoo doll, and here comes the model witch to confront him. And here's the big scene that we're leading up to. Kolchak has learned in his research about witches.
Well, he went to a seance.
He did. He went to a seance.
He went to the seance.
Yeah, and they asked him for a nominal fee. And then when he puts in the dollar, the witch goes, not that nominal.
Not that nominal. Which as a kid would fly right over your head.
Yeah.
These jokes, yeah.
So he's got all this information about witches, and he finds out like that if you smash a mirror, that's like a cross to a vampire, and that witches hate water like cats. So they have an altercation. The witch sends the mannequins on Kolchak like she did the Snoop in the beginning of the episode. He gets past the mannequins. He grabs the witch and he puts her face into a vat of blue dye because we're in the back office of a fashion designer. She's got a tub of red dye, a tub of blue dye.
I think the red would have been a little too gory.
The red would have been too much.
Yeah, I think so.
So he's putting her head in and he's yelling these things like, drown, witch!
Is that after he smashed a mirror and she there's a lot of women screaming in this episode.
Yes. So it's a very loud scene. So he's smashing mirrors. She's screaming.
I'll kill you!
Yep, I'll kill you! So then he dunks her head into the blue vat of dye. He pulls her out and her hair is blue. Her face is blue because of the dye, right? And her shirt is blue. So that's your scene, Mike. So it's the dye that's on her face.
I did not realize that at a young age.
Yeah, no, but it left it. It was very. It's intense because there's a lot of screaming going, like shrill. These women. It was pretty intense. I can easily see where this would freak you out as a kid.
And then either she chases him or he chases her out into the street.
Out into the street.
And at that point, she's got boils on her face because he did something. He pulled something else from his anti-witch bag, and she had boils on her face.
He just had all the answers at the end there.
So that could have been your scene as well, because she
with
had
the
like
boils,
these big blisters. Yeah. So
I want to know, did you have an issue watching Mannequin with Kim Cattrall?
I did not. By that time, I put that behind me.
I didn't know if that brought up any trauma later on.
So how much of this do you remember, Mike?
The end.
Just the end.
Yeah, and I think maybe it was just so traumatic that it washed away everything else. But Jim, thank you for the therapy session.
he now needs new therapy.
But now I think I can face the world again.
So yes, as to Jeff's point, there's a lot of caterwauling going on. This woman is just screaming at the top of her lungs and laughing maniacally, intermittently throughout this.
Yes, right.
Throughout this sequence. So, especially after he dunks her head, because there's a lot of extreme close-ups of her blue face as she's screaming at him. So
there's also a lot of models walking around in bras, which was very titillating, I'm sure, to a 9-year-old.
Maybe that's how I started. I thought this had so much promise.
I'm going to stick out for this episode. There you go. There it is. Mike's trauma.
But it was so enjoyable to watch.
Yeah,
I think maybe we should bring nice some other Night Stalker episodes.
I agree. Because there's an episode of Night Stalker that I remember specifically and had issues with, and it took me years to find out what it was. So we could easily go down that road.
So that leads us to our confessional this week.
Confessionals.
And seeing that we've had so many characters left by the side of the road, so to speak, on The Walking Dead, who would we like to see come back? So I'm going to let one of you guys go first. Who wants to go?
Jeff, go ahead.
All right. Well, I was leaning toward T-Dog, but I said no, we can't do that. Does anybody even remember T-Dog? It was like season 2, I think, at the most. I think only because he would make Daryl a more interesting character again is to bring back Merle.
Ooh.
His brother.
I like Merle.
He was Michael Rooker is an awesome character to begin with, just of his own right. But Merle made Daryl a more interesting watch. Daryl has become very one-dimensional of late. And with his brother, you kind of saw that he kind of fell in the shadows behind his brother. There were some issues going on there or whatever. And I think keeping him on the show would have been a little more interesting, bringing him back.
Yeah, you never really knew which way Daryl was going to turn when his brother was around. On Rick's side, or was he going to side with Merle?
He was right. He was allegiant, aligned with his brother because he was his brother. And what's interesting is I think in the next to last episode recently, Rick actually makes mention of the facts when him and Daryl are fighting. He makes a comment about second chances, because he's mad that Negan was still alive as well. And he said, well, you gave the guy who left your brother on the rooftop with no hand to die a second chance, indicating that it was him.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. So Merle's my answer.
Nice choice.
Yeah, I don't think I can top that. I mean, I was actually thinking Carl, and it's a character that I didn't, particularly care for in the series until he died.
But now you miss him.
And I was just like... And I kind of like where he was going, and he was going to grow up, to be, a Rick Grimes type of character, and he was kind of finding his way through this world.
Yeah.
I found him more interesting in the final seasons than I did earlier in the season. So I wanted to see where he was going.
Yep, I agree with you on that.
Because he really became the go-between between Negan and Rick in those last couple.
And it was really the one thing that the two of them. I mean, Negan genuinely had respect for Carl, which I thought was an interesting. If Carl had continued down that road, would would they have kind of ended up working together? At least had a little bit of a truce. I like that.
Yeah, I would say, and my choice would be the governor. I mentioned him already earlier.
You did.
But I think that he was probably my favorite bad guy on the show. I think was a far superior bad guy to Negan, just because he's just scarier. He's more intelligent than Negan, and because of that, he's scarier to me.
Yeah, Negan's brute force.
Yeah.
Rules by intimidation.
I was shocked when they killed the governor. I thought that they would have him go off after the prison altercation because he survived, say, Woodbury. It is Woodbury, isn't it?
Yeah, Woodbury, yeah. The Woodbury Commons.
Woodbury Commons.
He went shopping during the Christmas rush.
So he survived that altercation and then only to come back to the prison, and then they killed him off. So I was very sorry to see him go. I would have liked to have seen him disappear maybe for 3 or 4 seasons and have him come back, kind of like Morgan did. Yeah. So, and to see him with Negan would have been awesome.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, it would have.
Steve Morgan would have been, well, I guess he's on the other show, so he would have been a good answer as well.
Yeah.
Abraham was my backup. Gone too soon. Although I do miss Dale as well. But
yeah, I was
that
actually
might be
thinking of Dale in this.
Were you? Well, he was the voice of reason for the longest time.
Yeah.
You know, he really was. And he would have thrived in this environment right now.
Yeah, Dale in his goofy hat.
So there you go.
Yeah,
I like all our answers.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
So next week, as promised, we're going to reveal what we're going to do for a big Thanksgiving episode. We are going to have a TMI Monster Fest next week.
Monster Fest?
Revisit the days of sitting in your PJs. Well, not really your PJs, but sitting with your turkey leftovers the day after Thanksgiving, watching Godzilla flicks.
Godzilla.
At least that's what we did.
Jim, I'm beginning to think that that's all you did.
Let me tell you, the day after Thanksgiving was an appointment TV time. I was planning this for
Jim's
a year out. Yeah.
I remember HR Puffin stuff being big the day after Thanksgiving. Was that just me?
Well, HR Puffin stuff used to be on every day after school on PIX, I think. So I used to watch that every day as well.
I remember watching it like really early in the morning on Saturdays. But for whatever reason, maybe one year they did like a marathon, but it has stuck with me.
Witchy Poo was kind
Witchy Poo.
She was
a little bit traumatic for me
that was scary.
Yeah. But yes, we are going to revisit the world of Godzilla next week. We're going to cover King Kong versus Godzilla, the original 1963 version. And then we're going to move on to Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. So you're in for...
Or in Japanese version, he's Hedorah.
Yeah, or
Hedorah.
Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Hedorah.
But yeah, the version that we screened was the American International print, all you Godzilla freaks out there. So
there you go.
You're welcome. So listen in next week. And 2 weeks, I think we're going to breach the topic of Harry Potter for the first time on this.
That's right. We're going down that road. Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah. Yeah, so the week after our Thanksgiving show, we're going to hit Fantastic Beasts. So maybe we should do both movies, if that's not out of the question, since I think I need a refresher for the first one. And
I've seen bits and pieces of Fantastic Beasts, but I have not seen the entire thing through.
Let's do it.
All right. So 2 weeks from now,
it's
Fantastic Beasts. Yeah. Thanksgiving, we're going to have Godzilla Monster Fest. So
I like it.
So as always, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
All right. Ciao.
If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your podcasts on. Also, be sure to email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, Threads. Just go to tmiconfessionalspodcast.com. All of our links are there. And leave us a 5-star review. See you at the concession stand.